in that we had visited the website and we saw that it was running WordPress. So today let's see what else we can do. So 10.0.2.245 slash secret. This was the URL that we had discovered. So this was the blog that we had reached. And what we had done was we had logged in. We had tried using default credentials and we had found that admin and admin was working. So this is the dashboard that you get when you are a WordPress admin. So you can make all kinds of changes here. Now, one way to go about this is to use Metasploit, and I'll also talk to you about the other way to do this. Just wait. So whenever you have admin access on a WordPress website, see, admin access means you can upload anything you want. So we add something to the website. We upload a shell. It's okay. We upload a file that allows us to get shell access on the system using this admin access. So in Metasploit, there is this WP admin shell upload. Okay, this is a module. If I use this, I'll be able to get shell access onto my system. So let me just check the options once. So the username and password we need to set first. This is the username and password for the admin credentials. So username is admin in our case. So is the password. And what else do I need to set? The IP, of course. And the URL. Okay, so of course I'll set that as well, which is target URI. So the base part to the WordPress application. By default, it just uses this path, but we know that there's nothing here. So we need to set that as well, which is the path is secret. Okay, that covers all the options. Now I can run this. So okay, you can see it also. Metasploit also tells you, step-by-step overview. So it started the reverse TCP handler first, then it authenticated with WordPress using admin. So admin as the username and password. Okay, now it tells us that it failed to upload the payload. Strange. Let's try it once more. Okay, so now in this case it says session has been opened. Okay, so oh, the session was closed for some reason. this is okay. This probably means that in this case, our exploit is not running very stably, so it's quite unstable. But of course, like I mentioned, we have another method. So let's just see that. We don't want to rely too much on Metasploit anyway. So now that we have admin access to this, I mentioned we can do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an edit to the theme of this WordPress website. I'm going to go to Appearance, Editor. Yes, telling it's sort of a warning that you are making direct edits to your WordPress theme. We recommend you don't do that and so on and so forth. I understand. Okay. Now these are the different kind of pages that you can edit, and basically you can edit different kinds of templates. So this is the main index template. Then you have the template for a single post if you want to visit a single post. Now the thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to make changes to this template. Okay, I'm going to replace this code with something else. Now our goal is always to get a shell onto the system. So I will be replacing this code with the code for a PHP reverse shell. Okay, so when that code runs, now when PHP code is code for a website or a, sorry, in this case a web page. So that code will run when you visit that web page. And what we want to do is that when it runs, it should connect to like it should initiate a reverse connection back to us, which will allow us to get a shell on that system. So for that, reverse PHP shell, I'll just Google it. And there is a very good PHP reverse shell code by a team known as Pentest Monkey. So they have this reverse shell.php. I'm just going to copy this entire thing. Okay, I'll just go in reverse, which is much faster. I'll copy this entire thing and I'll replace it. I'll replace the original code here with this reverse shell code. Okay, just excuse me for a moment. I'm getting a call from the office. Okay, so as I was saying, we have now replaced this code with our reverse shell code. And okay, what we need to do is we need to change the IP. By default, this is the local host IP that's mentioned. So I need to replace this with my IP because this is a reverse shell. So it needs my IP in order to connect back to my system. The port number as well. Port number is up to you, whatever you want to use. Okay, and I'm just going to click on update file now. So file edited successfully, and I can now just access the website. What we did was we edited the template for a single page. So whenever you try to view a single post, instead of actually opening up the contents of that entry, it will run our code now, our reverse shell code. But before that runs, I need to go to my system and I need to open open a connection on my system. So I'll be using Netcat for that. And now in this case, I don't have to specify any IP because I'm just opening up a connection for listening. So I just need to specify a couple of things. One thing is L for listening and P for the port number. So that is 55. So now that connection is open. Actually, it's a good practice to use V and N as well. So V is to make the output more verbose, and N is to tell it that we don't need DNS resolution. We're just using private IPs here. So DNS resolution is not going to be possible either. Oh, okay. So now I can click enter and it's listening on any 5555. So that means for any protocol, TCP, UDP, whatever the connection might be, that is open on port 5555. Now I'm going to go back to the website and I'm going to click on this post. Okay, it's not running our code. Let's try making the edit again. PM's editor. Okay, not single page. Actually, need to edit single post. No problem. I'll just go to the single page code. Uh, actually, sorry, single post code. Replace it with our reverse shell. Change the IP again. Go back to the blog and let's just verify. Okay, this is running. Click on us and okay, now you can see it's not opening. It's taking a long time to open because now it's actually running our PHP code for the reverse shell. So let me just check my terminal and you can see that uh, we have received a connection and this is actually giving us shell access on that system. Okay, so If I try to see what user am I logged in as, www data. Okay, we don't want to be logged in as a service because that does not give us a lot of privileges. But for now, as long as it's giving us shell access, it's fine. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to get a proper shell. Okay, for that I can use Python, and basically I'm just importing a Python library and using that to spawn a bash shell. And we have, you can see that this string has now changed. So we have gotten a proper shell now. Let's see where we are. Okay, it appears we are in the main directory. Now let's try to do some, enumeration. Let's try to find out what information we can get. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to visit the home directory, see how many users are present. Okay, there's just one user, Marlin Spike. Let's try to change into their directory, Marlin Spike. See if there's anything we can find here. Okay, it does not really look like there's anything useful. There's just these files which tell us that the Pro FTP Pro FTPD service that's running is backdoored, and we've already seen that it can be exploited via Metasploit. So there's nothing else to do there, and there is no other interesting file. Maybe if maybe there might be something in downloads or something, but not in ls. No, nothing. Okay, let's just go back to the main directory. Let's see if the password file has anything interesting for us. Now, of course, the password file does not really contain the actual passwords for these people. It is just going to have the user accounts and some details about them. So, can anyone tell me where the actual passwords would be stored? What file contains the actual passwords on Linux systems now?
Sorry, sir, I don't know.
No.
Mm.
Okay, see, earlier it used to be the case that this password file would hold the passwords, but now Linux uses a separate file known as shadow, which is also in the etc directory. So we're going to cat that. Now, okay, this should not be possible. Okay, the command that I ran, it should not have run because the shadow file should only be accessible by root and not by any other user. So this file should not have run, but there's some misconfiguration on the system. That's why we're able to access the shadow file even though we are not root. So let's see what we have here. We see that there is this user Marlin Spy, and we have the password hash for this user. Okay, so what I can do is I can get this hash from here, copy this, and I can store this on my system. Okay, now hacking is something that you do on your system, not on the other system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a file, nano pass, and I'm going to paste this entire value here, exit, save yes, and I'm going to use John the Ripper to crack it. Okay, and it has already cracked it. The username for the username is Marlin Spike, and the password is also the same thing. Okay, so using this information, what we can do is we go back to our Linux terminal, we switch user to Marlin Spike. The password is of course Marlin Spike as well, and now we are logged in as that account. Now this is not the root account, but this is another user account on that system. So whenever you access a system, your ultimate goal is to get root access. So the first thing you do on any system when you get a user access is that you run the command sudo hyphen l and see what kind of commands this user can run on this system with the sudo command. So how many commands can you execute with admin privileges? You need to check that because that may give you a hint as to what you can do to perform privilege escalation. Privilege escalation is basically you're escalating your privileges. So from a user, you are trying to get root privileges. So let's see sudo hyphen l and it will ask you the password for the user account. We know the password. Okay. So leave this part and this is what is important. So user Marlin may run the following commands on VTC sec all. This means that this user can run every single command on the system with sudo. So basically you can do anything as root, and getting root access is very simple now. All I have to do is spawn a shell with the sudo command. So what I can do is sudo or sudo and write the Python command again for getting a shell. If you see here, you will know that we have root access now. So who am I? Root.
Sir,
And if I, yes,
sir, the command you have taken, Python command, sir, it creates
yes,
a shell, yes, sir.
yes, it spawns a shell using this bin bash executable, which is the proper Linux shell that we use.
Yes,
Okay, so when you run this command with sudo, it is going to give you a shell, but as root,
yes, sir.
which is what we want because root access is desired in this case. So now what I can do is if I want to secure further access to the system, I can just change the password of the root account. So I use the command password, enter new Unix password. I just say new, and I've changed the password for the root account now. I think there's an SSH server running on this. Sorry, not SSH server, just SSH running on this system. Let me just verify whether that's true or not with a quick nmap scan. Okay, so SSH is running. Now the next time I want to access that system, it's very simple. All I have to do is SSH root. So after SSH, you need to specify the user account that you want to log in as. At the rate, now the IP. 2.245. Okay, and in the next step, it's going to ask you the password. Permission denied. Okay, let's try again. Okay, we'll have to do a reboot of the system in order for the password change to take effect in this case of SSH. Where were we? That's okay. But for future access, we have secured this now. So now that we are root, you can do anything that you want on the system. You can create files, delete files. You can view any available files on the system, get as much data as you want from the system. If I go into the root directory, I can see the contents. Now, as of now, there are actually no contents, just a few system files. But if there were anything here, if there were any files present here, we would be able to see those as well. So, are you guys able to follow what we have done so far? If there's any questions, any doubts, please feel free to ask.
sir.
Yes,
Now the target PC is yours, right, sir?
pardon?
You have successfully cracked that. I mean, successfully hacked that target, right, sir?
Yes, yes.
Sir, the only we can hack the systems or website in the safe network.
No, I mean, if you're able to get the IP address of the system. See, in this case, this is on our own network. So we found the IP address. But in a more realistic situation, you would first try to find the IP using all kinds of footprinting techniques.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
So you'd maybe try to use Shodan, or you try to use DNS information, whois information. Okay, try to maybe perform trace routes, pings to various devices in your target network. Okay, if you want to hack something remotely, then of course you need a way to publicly access it, or maybe you perform some social engineering on an employee within your target organization, and you get access to the systems in that way. You get some information that way. In our case, the piece of information that we have is that it's on the same network as our device,
Mm.
and
Yes,
we're
sir.
moving forward from that.
Yeah, right.
So on this basic pen testing VM,
Yes, sir.
everything that we could do, that we have done. Like, there's nothing actually in the post exploitation phase here. We changed the password for root. That is all we could do, because there are no files. This is not actually a proper CTF. It was not meant to be a proper CTF when it was first created. So it does not have any flags to capture. But the next system that we'll see after this, that will have flags. It will have it has three flags actually. The one that I'll go in, that the one that I'll cover after this one. Okay, so let me just show you that as well.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I have a lap and a PC connected to the same network, sir.
Hmm.
So, if I try this method, I can able to hack that PC in my laptop, sir.
You may be able to hack. There's no guarantee that you will be able to, because all that depends on how that system is configured, what kind of vulnerabilities exist there. Okay, it depends on that. So I mean, you can definitely attempt. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but it depends on how that system is configured, how you try to hack it.
In the same way, we can also hack some Android phones.
Android phones, no, actually, Android phones is something that's very different. I mean, of course, Android runs on, like, the core is Linux, but the procedure for, performing penetration testing on mobile devices is somewhat different. And there's a separate course for that as well. So you can, if you're interested in mobile penetration testing, I would suggest that you take that course.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next machine that I'm going to cover is known as Mr. Robot. So, okay, I'll just give you the link for it as well. So in the chat, I've posted the link to this. So what you can do is, again, this is an OVA file like for basic pen testing. So this also will need to be set up. And what we need to do is, like, just set this up similar to basic pen testing. And then in the next session, I'll start working on Mr. Robot.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. So do you have any questions from whatever we've covered so far?
No, sir. I'll try it, and if there anything goes wrong, I'll ask you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Anila, what about you? Are you uh, able to follow along with everything that we've covered so far?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, you said that deleting one partition can be used for Linux. Is that, sir?
Pardon?
Sir, that partition, sir.
Hmm.
That error in my PC. How to fix
Yeah.
that, sir? Is there any method? Because it, that format it and you can use it for Linux.
See, currently you are using one drive for Linux, which is almost full,
Yes, sir.
and the others you are using for Windows,
Yes, sir. It's for SSD has been full, sir. I have using another hard disk.
another hard disk, right? So the thing is that hard disk currently, since it's being used by Windows, it has been formatted according to Windows. So it's probably using the NTFS, like, a file system,
Yes, sir.
and Linux uses ext4. So those are both quite different.
So format it as a exe format. It automatically opens here, sir.
If you format it to ext4,
Yes, sir.
Linux will be able to access it. So you'll be able to use it in Linux.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what you might have to do is divide an existing partition into two,
Okay, sir.
and then that second part that you create, just uh, you know erase it, or make sure to you know have like take a backup of your data, erase that partition, and format it to ext4, so it will be available to Linux then.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. Share me yesterday's class link, sir.
Yes, of course. And anything else, any other questions? No.
No, sir. No, sir. When will our next class, sir?
Next session will be on